The phrase was not a slur shouted in a bad moment. It was a mission statement, said with pride by a reformer who believed he was doing the children a kindness. Kill the Indian in him and save the man. He said it in 1892. Richard Henry Pratt, founder of the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, the model the whole system would copy. A great general has said, "The only good Indian is a dead one," he told a room of reformers. And in a sense, he agreed. All the Indian in the race, he said, should be dead. Kill the Indian, save the man. That was the thesis of what followed on both sides of the border for more than a century. Not killing the child's body, killing everything the child was. The language, the name, the braided hair, the mother and father, the ceremonies, the food, the God. Sever every thread that tied the child to their people, and what remained could be remade, Christian, English-speaking, saved. The institutions built to do this were called schools. They were run overwhelmingly by churches, and thousands of the children who entered them never came home. In Canada, they were residential schools. In the United States, Indian boarding schools. The design was the same: federal money, church management, attendance made compulsory by law, and distance, children taken far from home on purpose, so that running away was a death sentence in the cold. Canada ran about 139 of them, from the 1830s until 1996, when the last one finally closed. Roughly 150,000 First Nations, Métis, and Inuit children passed through. The Catholic Church ran most of them. The Anglicans, Presbyterians, and Methodists took the rest. The United States ran the larger system. At least 408 schools across 37 states. What happened inside is documented in the survivors' own words by the thousands. Children stripped of their clothes and their language on arrival, beaten for speaking the only words they knew, their hair cut, new Christian names, brothers and sisters separated and forbidden to speak, worked as much as schooled, hungry, cold, and crowded into buildings that bred disease. The point was never really education. The point, in the system's own words, was to absorb a people out of existence. It is tempting to file this under government policy and leave the churches out of it. The churches will not let you. They asked for the work, and they did it on a mandate they believed came from God. The engine was the Great Commission, Matthew chapter 28. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them. To the men who ran the schools, a continent of unbaptized children was not a culture to respect. It was a harvest to bring in, and conversion required destroying everything that competed with it. The rival gods, the rival languages, the rival families. Beneath that lay something older, the doctrine of discovery. In a series of 15th century papal bulls, the popes granted Christian kings the right to invade, capture, and subdue non-Christian peoples, seize their lands, and reduce them to perpetual servitude. That theology became law. It was cited by the United States Supreme Court to deny that indigenous nations truly owned their own land. The schools were that doctrine applied to children. The official who made attendance compulsory in Canada said the quiet part for the record. "I want to get rid of the Indian problem," he wrote in 1920. "Our objective is to continue until there is not a single Indian in Canada that has not been absorbed." The children died, and the system knew, and the system kept going. In 1907, the government's own chief medical officer, Dr. Peter Bryce, toured the schools and was horrified. He found death rates that beggar belief. A quarter of the children dead. and at one school on the prairies, 69% of the pupils who had passed through were dead. Tuberculosis spread through the dormitories unchecked. Healthy children knowingly housed with the sick. He wrote it up. He recommended reform. The department buried his report and pushed him out. In 1922, retired and ignored, he published his findings himself, under a title that has never been bettered: The Story of a National Crime. How many children died? Here the temptation runs in two opposite directions, and both betray the dead. One is denial, that without a confirmed body for every claim, nothing can be said. The other is its mirror, to seize the largest, least verified figure and call it settled. We refuse both. What is documented is this: Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. 6 years of work, the testimony of thousands of survivors, confirmed and named the children it could. The register began at 3,200 and has grown past 4,000, with the Commission's own chair saying plainly that the true total is likely 6,000 or more. In the United States, the federal investigation has documented, so far, at least 973 child deaths. A floor, not a ceiling. Then there are the unmarked graves. In 2021, ground-penetrating radar at the former Kamloops School registered roughly 215 probable burials. More surveys followed. But be exact about what this is. These are radar anomalies, consistent with unmarked graves, at sites with documented deaths and missing children. Not in most cases excavated and confirmed, and not, despite some headlines, mass graves. The careful claim is the strong one. The record already shows that children died in large numbers and were buried away from their families. The names we have are enough. The gospel the schools claimed to serve has Jesus say, when his own disciples tried to turn children away, "Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. Let the children come." The schools did the precise inverse. They took the children by force and forbade them everything: their parents, their tongue, their safety. And alongside the disease and the hunger came what the survivors have spent their lives finding the words for: beatings recorded in the thousands, and the sexual abuse of children concealed for decades. The place built to save their souls was, for many of them, the most dangerous place they would ever live. The last of these schools closed within living memory of almost everyone watching this, not in some medieval fog, in 1996. The men who ran them had Bryce's report from 1907 and ignored it. They had a century of grief and ignored that too. The age knew. It chose not to. So here is the receipt, in 3 parts. What happened? For more than a century, churches running government-funded schools took 150,000 Indigenous children in Canada and hundreds of thousands more in the United States by force to kill the Indian in them. Thousands died. The apologist spin: it was the government, not the church. The schools meant well. The numbers are sensationalized. It was the standard of the era. And the rebuttal: the churches ran them and asked to, on a theology that made a child's culture a thing to destroy. Kill the Indian, save the man is not our phrase. It is theirs. The deaths were documented at the time, and the warning was buried, and the standard of the era knew better. A doctor put it in writing in 1907, and the schools ran on for another 89 years. In 2015, after hearing the survivors, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission reached a verdict it chose its words for. The system, it concluded, amounted to cultural genocide, a deliberate effort to destroy a people not by killing every member, but by destroying the group, its languages, its families, its future. The apologies have come slowly. Canada in 2008, the churches in the 80s and 90s. In 2022, Pope Francis came to Canada, begged forgiveness on the land where the schools had stood, and on the flight home, used the word genocide. In 2023, the Vatican finally repudiated the doctrine of discovery. 4.5 centuries after the bulls that licensed it all, the survivors are not an abstraction. They are alive. Their grandchildren are alive. And the languages the schools tried to kill are being spoken again, deliberately, as an act of refusal. The same refusal that runs under this whole series, that you cannot beat a soul into the shape you want and call it salvation. The schools counted the funding. They counted the converts. They did not always trouble to count the dead, or to write down their names, or to tell their mothers where they were buried. So we count them now. It is the least the living owe them, and the most the men who ran the schools were never willing to do.